name is Angela Armstrong and I'm the lighting intern at Portland Stage, and today I will be teaching you how to build models using stuff in your own house. Some of the things you will need is a cardboard box. I'm using a shoe box, but any size box that you have would work. You're also going to need our scrap cardboard pieces to cut. The other things you'll need are paper. Today I'll be using sketchbook paper and watercolor paper because they're a little thicker in paper, but any kind of paper you have, construction paper or printer paper would do. You need glue to glue your model together, something to cut your model with. I have knives and scissors. Ask your parents if you're going to be using knives. Also, if you're going to be using knives, you also want something to cut on so you're not cutting on the surface. So I'm going to be using cutting boards and this repurposed clipboard. The last thing you'll need is something to decorate your model when it's done. Today I will be using watercolor paint because that's what I have, but you can use anything. You can use crayons, markers, pastels, anything that you have around the house you can use to decorate your model and make it personal to you. Today I will be making a Native Gardens model. Portland Stage recently had to close the show, but you can have your own native gardens in your very own house. And I encourage you, for this project, Native Gardens had actual plants, so you can decorate this any way you want, and you can even incorporate actual plants from your backyard, and I'll show you how to do that later into your own native garden. Let's get started. The first thing you want to do is grab yourself a sheet of paper, and you want to now measure how big your model wants to be. I'm going to be measuring 3.5 inches for my first wall, then an inch over for my second, putting it at 4.5 inches. Now we're just gonna do the same thing again with little tack marks, measuring 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and then a 1/4 of an inch or so at the end. So now we have our little tack marks, and now we're gonna connect these and draw them all the way across. So you should have 2 bigger pieces and then 2 smaller rectangles and then 1 super slim rectangle on this side. You now want to fold on all of these lines. Now we want to cut the excess off, which is your last little fold line. Now that we have our little rectangle, now we're gonna fold it. This is gonna be our first little house. But first you have to make sure it fits into your box. So you want to take your box and cut it down to the size that you want your house to be. And it can be any size you want. Like I said, I'm going to try to replicate the Native Garden set. So I'm going to be cutting about 5 inches off of my little house right here, so it can fit inside my box better. It should look something like this. Next, we're gonna take that tiny fold we made and add some glue, fold it over and glue it to the other side to complete our rectangle. Okay, so it should look something like this. And we're actually gonna set this aside now and let it dry for just a minute or 2 while we work on something else. You do wanna make sure you're saving all the scraps that you're cutting off. You can use these and make them into pieces of furniture or details for your house. So what I'm actually gonna do is cut a strip now. So we have a little strip like this. And now we're gonna take our scissors and we are gonna cut little strips out of this bigger strip. We're gonna be using these to help hold our house together and all the details we're making. They're gonna be like little tabs that we glue on. After the glue has been set, you should have a little box like this. Next, we wanna find the center point of the front of the box. So again, we're gonna take our little ruler. Then I'm gonna lightly draw a line in the center of our little house. So it should look something like this. This is gonna be what you're gonna be drawing all the details of your house on based on the center line, so the door and the windows, so it all matches and it's all even. And now the next step is to just draw your house. Like I said, I'm gonna be drawing Native Gardens house. I'm gonna be using a reference photo and Cobb trying to draw as much detail as possible onto the house. But this is truly the part where you can get as fun and creative as possible, and you can make your own personal house and color it any way you want. So let's get started. Okay, so this this is what my house looks like so far. I have all the details like sketched out, and now it's time to paint them. Next, we're gonna build the patio. So you wanna take your house, you wanna measure out a distance, including the depth of your house, so like the inch we cut for the side, and we're gonna be using cardboard in stacking layers of cardboard to build a deck. So this looks like a good size for the deck, so we're just gonna make about 3 more of these little paper squares. Now we're gonna glue them together. Next, we wanna take some of the scrap and make 2 little smaller rectangles for the stairs. Next, we wanna take one of our little tabs that we cut earlier, add some glue onto it. Now we're gonna glue our little stairs to the front of our deck. It's gonna look something like this, and we're just gonna set that aside to dry for a sec. And while we're doing that, we're gonna grab another piece of cardboard scrap or any kind of paper scrap. I do recommend this being a little thicker. I'm gonna be using this little Cliff Bar box, making a railing for the little patio we made. We wanna make sure we cut it down to the size we need. Next, we want to take some paper and roll it up to make little banisters for the railing, and then we'll glue those on. So I'm just going to take some scrap paper and just cut some strips out of that. Again, maybe about an inch, maybe a little under an inch long. And then you just want to roll it up. Now it's time to assemble all the individual pieces of our deck. Next, with some of the scraps, we're going to be making small pieces of furniture like chairs and tables and other set decorations that are on the Native Garden set. By taking a small strip like this and cutting it pretty thinly, I would say like a little less than ½ an inch, and then we're going to fold it and make a chair. As you can see, I folded like 4 lines across in a certain pattern, making 1 rectangle followed by 4 little squares. And by folding these, you can make little chairs like this, just right out of paper, any kind of paper that you have. And if you have colored construction paper, that's even better because you don't have to like add the additional task of coloring them. You can just use different colored construction paper or any type of colored paper to make any type of chair and table that you want. And if you glue the first square to the rectangle, so you can have a little chair like this. You can also cut it and shape it any way you want. For making a table, I recommend using a thicker cardboard for the table itself and the base for it, just so it has something sturdier to be on, like a cardstock or like I said, recycled cardboard. And you just want to cut the shape of your table. Now you want to make a little foot for your table, so just like a little tab of cardboard, a little square. And now you're going to take another small scrap of paper and cut a little strip out of it and roll it up. Now you want to put glue on the little tab you made. Put your little rolled up piece of paper on it. And this is going to be like the foot of the table. It's going to help give it balance. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect or not. Then you're going to put a little black daub of glue underneath your little table. And put that and put on top. Press down lightly. And then we're gonna set that aside for a minute to let the glue set for a bit. And once that's dry, you have your own little table. And like I said again, now we're gonna take more scrap paper and make more furniture and accessories based off of the Native Garden set. And now that we're back, we should have something like this. And what I've done is attach the pieces using these little tabs. I've just applied glue to them. And we just place them underneath to attach it to whatever you have as your base, which again, since we made our little patio, we have cardboard as a base. So we would attach it to that and let it sit. Also in this time, I have made my own little garden as the garden fence as in Native Gardens to divide the two houses. And I just made that by making a little rectangle, making a big rectangle and making a smaller rectangle, two smaller rectangles on either side, and then cutting the shape out and folding on the lines. If you cut those out and then again, you grab some of your little tabs and just glue them and fold everything and glue it together, it should stay and you'll get a shape like this. Or if you already have something like this, maybe a small piece of Tupperware or like a planter, I would encourage you to do that so then you can actually put live plants in there and keep them alive. I've also made little bushes and trees by just crumpling up some paper and dipping them into paint. So these are fun. This is like a fun little option to decorate. I've made more furniture. And I've also found some objects around my apartment. Like I have some of this greenery that I'm just gonna be using as bushes, and some of the plants that I'm gonna put in mine. Like I said, if you have any flowers or greenery, anything that is cute that you wanna put in your own little personal garden, go right ahead. Once you have all your little set pieces in your buildings, it's time to place them inside of the box. We got some little chairs we can put in here. And the awesome thing about these is that they're little interchangeable set pieces you could use for different scenes that you imagine in your head. And there you have your own Native Gardens model set. I hope you had fun. I sure did. See you soon. Stay safe.